folks, how are you today? I'm going to move on to some wiring issues. Number one is this HEI. It used to have points ignition, obviously, and this is the factory points wire. I'm guessing, let's see, the higher the number, the smaller the gauge. So it's probably like a 16 gauge. Well, HEI requires, as you can see, that's like a 12 or 14 gauge wire. So they were going into the factory. I do have 12 volts. When I read online, these had 9 volts. Consistent. So I don't know what they did if they only have half of it, but it's going into my loom. It was originally a resistance wire, so I think it went all the way down to the starter back. That's how it dropped resistance. Don't quote me on that. But I think it's going in this one right. Oh, sorry with the camera. I think it's this one right here. So the right thing to do is back the terminal out. You can do that, but I'm going to go right through that hole. I got the firewall right there with somebody drilled for the temperature probe. I'm going to go right to my fuse box ignition and run a nice fat wire. And I have a grommet for this firewall that's all chewed up because you don't want jagged metal cutting your wire. And here's what I got. This is I think I went 14 gauge. They said 12 or 14 is good. Yeah, 14 gauge. And I got the nice grommet. So I'm going to rig that up. And I'm looking at the rest of this. I don't need all this down here. That's not going to be there anymore. This is going to my air conditioning. I could shorten that, make it a little neater, maybe put it in some loom, protect it. And what's the other one going to? The other one is, oh yeah, my temperature sender in the head. So they will clean that up. And then this bothers me too. I think this used to be just a factory inline fuse, and they did a circuit breaker. This is 30 amp. That's for the blower motor. This just looks hideous, right? It's all about looks. Excuse me. So, and then maybe I'll put some new terminals on these choke. This just doesn't sit on there right. This connector, I don't think it's right for that. It's a good style connector, so hold on to it, but it doesn't fit on there properly, securely. I don't know. So why not? Get the tools out, let's fix it. And down here at the fuse box, I'm going to go into that ignition terminal right there above that pink wire. And that hole in the firewall is literally right here somewhere. Oh, there it is, daylight. So I just need like 20 inches here and 12 out there maybe. Right, we are over here on the workbench, aka the cement floor. So that's our connector at the HEI. This is going to go into the fuse box. The other end, this is just a standard, these butt connectors I told you I don't like, but it's all I have. I peel off the plastic because I want to get some solder in there too. I want to get some solder. So I'm just going to do that. I put my heat shrink tubing on already. There it is. Slide it up out of the way. I'm going to crimp. I might cut a little bit so that goes in further. See that? See what a fucking perfectionist I am. Yeah, look at that. Crimp it. Crimp. Heat shrink tube. And solder. There's a little seam there. If anything, I can get a little bit in there. That'd be great. Alright. I just realized that was shot in slow-mo. That's hilarious. At least you'll be able to see better. these are the tools I'm working with because everyone is different. This one's nice because the cutters and strippers are up top, whereas this is the same tool, and the cutting and stripping is down here. So this is kind of a pain if you're trying to do it in a vehicle. You've got to get this tool around the wire, and so it's kind of a pain in the ass. So that's why this one's better for that. This one has the crimping here. This one, see the non-insulated? It's got a nice pinch there. Whereas this one does, what is it, up top? No, this one doesn't have it. It doesn't have a non-insulated. And then there's this tool that I recently scored. It's got like just a non-insulated, kind of pinched it though. It's too sharp. And you flip it around like a switchblade. And it's got the cutters. This is kind of a nice little tool. But depending on what you're trying to crimp, it can be a pain in the ass. So this, I had to use all three really to get this crimped. And now I'm going to add some solder. And then slide that shrink tubing up. Bam. And voila. Got that grommet in there. I need to trim a little bit of it. So I'm going to get a razor blade and trim that. And I may even fill in the void with like some RTV or something. Keep the hot air out. I need to fill this video in. I never got a good recording of the new starter. Sounds nice. Let's hope it recorded. Alright, let's clean up this mess. Extra long footage of cable here. It's a nice connector here. See if we can get it undone. The wrong tool, giant screwdriver. There we go. Look at that terminal, make sure it's in good shape. Well, these clips probably used to be attached to something. I'll hold on to them. Maybe I'll rig them up somewhere else. Or maybe I can still use them for this, actually. Put them down here. Little factory things like this are cool. I could look up, I do have the service manual, but see where they used to go. Maybe I won't cut this. Maybe I'll just run it a different way. I'll run it up in here. Probably, I wonder if that's where it used to be. I have enough length. It's still in good shape. It's got some crap on it. Got some weird kinks where it was. Run that nicely. This was going, oh, this is the one I just did for the, how do you do? I'm going to just cut that end. Because that is a 12 bolt. You could take that off. You could tuck it back in here. You know, it is live. I think it's only live when it's, I don't know, this is going to be live all the time. Yeah. So yeah, you got to tape that off. Be the right thing to do. But let's see what we can do with this guy. My PCV here. Trying to get it out of the fan. I could go all the way around the booster if I wanted to. Right, so it's got to go right there. That would be nice. Get it off the engine. So as I was saying, I don't like the looks of this mess, so this is just a circuit breaker. And I just took it apart, make sure it was clean. It's a very high-tech device. All it is a piece of metal between these two posts. When it gets hot, it goes blank and disconnects. Blank, blank. Very simple. Dawn of time. Those things have been around. It's a 30 amp. I think it used to have a fuse here. I could look in the diagram and reassure myself. just going to go, before it went down like this, it had this weird thing. I'm just going to go straight across. Put a new connector on there. And this will be going to the blower motor. And we'll clean this up, some heat shrink instead of butt connectors. And why is there, need all those connectors when I just go straight up? The less connections the better. Less resistance, less corrosion. Now I was looking for some thick wire. I think this is like a 10 gauge. And I found this stuff in my bag of tricks. And I remember getting this. This is from an old washing machine. But look, it's an aluminum, they call that aluminum coated. So it's like a copper coated with aluminum. It's not for automotive use. It will not give you the same resistance values, and it doesn't handle heat the same. So you should not use, that's why they use copper core on automotive use. So if you ever see that under your hood, get rid of it. Alright, that all looks a lot better, doesn't it? Couldn't get any heat shrink tubing. Didn't have any more thick wire, so I just electrical taped over that mess. Got that nice little setup going. Put the wire for my radiator for compressor. That's what it was. Compressor over to here. Did my choke heat shrink. Some better connections there. Tucked in some wire. Got the grommet going through there. And that could be an issue, but I think I'm going to RTV. There's a little gap right there next to the grommet too. But yeah, that's how you clean up shit, make it look pretty. Right? It's all about what you want it to look like. Alright.